common misconceptions about mixed media is that you need a lot of supplies to make anything. And I believe this isn't true. You can have just a few basics like pencils, a few acrylic paints, and a stack of collage papers, and you can create so much. But there is one supply that I believe will really up your game, and it will really give you so many more opportunities. And considering that it isn't really expensive, I think it's really worth having for you. This supply is, and watch out, my bottle has been really well used. That supply is gesso, and especially white gesso. I'm talking about acrylic gesso, which is an acrylic primer. Now that's a lot of weird words. The most important thing is that it will help you create surface for anything and everything. So whatever supplies you decide to use in your mixed media, gesso will make it possible. So my gesso is Liquitex gesso. I don't really have preference when it comes to brands. I just buy a big bottle of good quality gesso, so not too cheap and not too expensive. So this one's quite runny, as you can see. It's like double cream, heavy cream, right? You can get gessos that will be called heavy gesso, and they will be very thick, like whipped cream, but heavier as well. Thin gesso will be easier to spread on large surfaces maybe. Thick gesso will be helpful when you want to create texture, but it can be spread too. So it doesn't really matter. To me, I'm fine with both kinds. So whatever I got, I use and I love it. The most versatile color of gesso will be white. This is the one I think you should get. You can also get it in black or even in gold if you like that kind of colored surface. I don't use it that much, but another gesso that I use a lot of is clear gesso. So that is milky, like our PVA glue, milky when it's wet, but completely clear when it's dry, and it gives us that toothy, matte, grippy surface that all paints look beautiful on. So let me show you how you can work with gesso. So I have an old book page, so that's, very thin paper, right? If you apply watercolor on it, it can be, depending on the age of paper or the kind of it, it can soak in, it can even disturb the surface of the paper, creating little bubbles, and the paper starts to disintegrate if you use watery medium. So that's not ideal, right? So that's why we have gesso. I have a little bit of my white gesso here on this palette, and you can use an old credit card to spread it, you can use a larger brush to spread it, a palette knife, or one of my favorite tools, but not necessary, but that is a silicone brush. So it's very flat, very flexible, and it will allow you to apply your gesso in a thin layer. So I will show you that, but please remember, a brush will be good enough. With gesso, I like to apply a thinner layer because it will dry faster, and it won't react with paints as much. So here's our white gesso. It's very easy to spread. This is a thinner version. It's beautiful, right? Clean your brush right away. Acrylic gesso is like acrylic paint, so it dries very quickly. It will get into the bristles of your brush. So keep a jar of water at your desk and dip that brush straight away after using, so you don't damage it. Let me show you clear gesso. So you see, this is quite see-through. If you'd want to cover that writing, you could wait for this thin layer to dry and apply another layer of gesso to get a little bit more opacity. Here is clear gesso now. Okay, so I dip my brush, the same brush or palette knife or an old credit card, and spread it. So you can see immediately it's much more see-through, and as it dries, it will become completely clear. And now that this is dry, here I am back with my pink watercolor paint. This is the white gesso surface. Paint sits on it beautifully. And here is the clear gesso surface. Also, a lot better adherence to the paper. So the paint doesn't sink in, it sits on the surface and gets a chance to dry. But here is where things get really exciting. You remember when we were making collage, I encouraged you to use pictures from magazines or wrapping paper. Well, you may want to draw or make marks or paint on top of those. And sometimes they are really glossy. So like on my first collage here, this is wrapping paper. It's got a glossy surface. So if I want to use a pencil, this is a pastel pencil, it hardly makes any marks. So I can't do nothing on it unless I cover it with a layer of clear gesso. So let me do that. So I have covered wherever I want to draw with my pencils with clear gesso, so around this focal point. And now it's dry and look at the difference. We can see the pencil and it's lovely to use. And the colors are vibrant, and comparing to here where there's no gesso, we can't even see it, right? So a layer of clear gesso can make a huge difference, and it can unlock many doors. So get yourself either a jar of white gesso if you like to work on light colored surface, or a clear gesso, which will give you a lot of opportunities for collage and mark making. We've linked to the products that I'm using in the description, but please bear in mind there are lots of different brands, and choose something that fits in with your budget. One thing to look out for is clear gesso that's called rough or textured. This will be a little bit harder to use with pencils because it will have a very gritty surface once dry. So go for a smooth or one that simply doesn't have that rough or textured word on the branding.